long journey to get to the point where the establishment of an independent public inquiry has finally become a reality. I look forward to having the opportunity to participate in a statutory inquiry and expose publicly the whole truth behind the murder of my husband. This has always been the objective of the campaign that my family and I have pursued for the last 35 years. We have only ever been concerned with uncovering the truth. It is this that has kept us going. It is the thing that has been missing all these years. We did not believe that his murder was simply the work of gunmen who killed him. We had no confidence that police investigations would ever bring those truly responsible to justice. We were not satisfied with private, limited reviews from which we were excluded. We could not and did not accept the assurances of previous British governments that they were anxious to set the record straight, because they were never prepared to do so in public. An independent statutory public inquiry is and was the only way to bring the whole truth behind the murder of Pat Finucane into the light of day. The journey to this point is not one that my family and I have had to endure alone. Indeed, we would never have succeeded without the assistance and support and encouragement of so many people over the years. I could not begin to thank them all by name here today. So many people all over the world were willing to give generously of their time and their talent again and again. I want to record my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to each and every one of them. We would not be here today without them. However, I would like to sing about one person, and that is Peter Mann. Peter was my husband's business friend and partner throughout Pat's all too short legal career. He has been a source of unending strength and resilience. I cannot thank him enough for what he has done for my family, or indeed the entire legal team that has represented us so fearlessly and brilliantly in our fight for a public inquiry. Most of all, I believe this inquiry can be a watershed moment in the difficult subject of legacy in this part of our island. If a public inquiry into the murder of Pat Finucane can finally public examine all of the collusion that plagued our society for so many years, then there is hope that the real process of healing can begin. The murder of Pat Finucane is the last remaining Western Park case. It is high time it was properly investigated, publicly examined, and finally resolved. I believe that my family deserved this after so many years. Pat Finucane deserves this after so many years. Society as a whole deserves this after so many years. And after 35 years of cover-up, it is time for truth.
Geraldine, you said it's been a long journey. You've been campaigning for this for more than 3 decades. We don't yet know the terms of reference for the public inquiry, but how confident are you will now finally get the truth about what happened to your husband?
Well, we've been campaigning for an inquiry, which is the forum for the ability to get to the truth. It's a forum where people can be cross-examined, questions can be verified, facts can be established, and an inquiry is the only place for that. All the reviews that have gone on before Witnesses weren't even called in some instances. If anybody was, they were never cross-examined. People were excused, and the family had no input into that. So we had no idea what's been going on. Certainly some information has come out, but we need it to be publicly seen by everyone. I mean, over the years, people have said to me, keep going, because if the truth comes out in your case, we will be reassured that what happened to our loved ones, it was collusion, and it will be there for everybody to see.
Sean?
Geraldine, after so many years, 35, what has sustained you all these years?
Well, I have a great family, I have great legal support, and people from all around the world have sent me messages and held. We've had representation from America, we've had bipartisan support, and that's what kept us going. And people who come up to me and just say, keep going. We need to know the truth, and if you can keep going, we'll be satisfied. It's not a one-man job.
BBC, Lindsay Telford. Geraldine, this inquiry will be held under the...
Sorry, my hearing's not great.
Geraldine, BBC, this inquiry will be held under the 2005 Inquiries Act, and that's the very act that you argued in the early 2000s was designed to restrict material provided to an inquiry. Are you now accepting an inquiry that you could have had 20 years ago?
I think when the law was changed after Weston Park so that inquiries were covered under the Inquiries Act, we had always accepted that an inquiry would take place under that legislation. Where the difficulty arose before was that the government made it clear that it intended to use a very restrictive mechanism within that legislation that in our analysis and the analysis really of everybody who has supported us around the world would have rendered that particular inquiry meaningless. We look forward to engaging with the government on all of the issues that need to be resolved in advance of the inquiry beginning its work. We welcome today, we have never had a Secretary of State stand up and make the type of statement that was made today. And it's also worth pointing out the significance of our courts in this process as well. Today's announcement comes after the judgment of July 11, where the Court of Appeal here was not only stated in the previous British government's response to our Supreme Court victory of 2019, but it went further. It made it clear that both my family and the British government needed to find agreement, and in the absence of that agreement, the court would direct what it felt was the best mechanism and vehicle to properly investigate all of the circumstances around my father's murder. So we find ourselves here today, over 35 years later, with the British government accepting that there needs to be a full public inquiry. It's what we've always asked for, and we look forward to getting down and getting stuck into the work as soon as possible.
Geraldine, Amanda Ferguson from Reuters. I'm just wondering what your view is on why this is happening now. Is it the exhaustion of the legal process, or do you think it's a new UK government's commitment to honouring its commitments?
I think it's a bit of both. The courts, as John has just explained, have actually, I think, got fed up with the government delaying all the time, and they have decided that something needs done to bring this to an end. So the courts have helped, the new government has helped, and Hilary Benn seems like a genuine guy who wants to bring closure to to a commitment made twice by previous governments. So I think it's all combined together and it started from the Supreme Court judgment. Although the Tory government was in then, I mean, it's the highest government, it's the highest court in the land, and if they are making that sort of a decision, the government really has to sit up and take notice and decide, finally, let's have some closure on this.
John Ford. Anybody else?
I wonder if I could ask a question just in response to some, if you could give your response to some of the comments we heard in the comments today from unions and politicians, some of whom made the point that many other families are not getting inquiries, many other families still wait for answers. How would you respond to that suggestion that your family in some way has got preferential treatment?
I have to say, I hear the term preferential treatment, and if you could indulge me on this, it's very difficult to square that with the experience that my family have been through for over 35 years. First of all, the state targeted and set in motion events that meant my father was murdered in front of all of us as we had our dinner. The term collusion was dismissed, not just dismissed when I was growing up, but to utter those words viewed in a certain light. And to be quite frank about it, it was dangerous at times to make allegations of collusion against the state in the aftermath of my father's murder. Every single bit of progress we've had as a family has had to be fought for. It's never been handed to us. We've had to fight in courts, domestic and international. My mother has not only had to deal with being a widow and raising 3 young children, which has had to travel the world to gain support, which we were lucky enough to have. And every single bit of progress over a painful 35.5 years has been hard fought. And I would be very slow to describe that as preferential treatment. We were given a commitment nearly 20 years ago now that if a judge of international standing felt that there should be an inquiry, then the relevant government would have that inquiry. The Irish government lived up to their commitment. The British government lived up to their commitment in all other cases, bar one, and that was my father's murder. And we have had to fight tooth and nail every step of the way, at times in the face of being insulted by people within the British government and outside of the British government. So I think you could forgive me and my family for saying that today is not something that we look at as preferential treatment. And I will also say that throughout 35 years, it began with my mum and has carried on through all of us. We have always been clear that truth and justice applies to every single person who was unfortunate enough to be hit by our conflict in our past. And that is without partiality, without any equivocation. We have been consistent in that. So any other family that continues to fight for truth and justice will have our support. And we know what it's like when the system is put in place to frustrate you and prevent you from getting answers. But what I've always believed, and it's a personal view, is that when I look at other families that get success, if that's the right word, and we've had examples of that over previous years through civil cases, judicial reviews, and particularly the inquest system, not least to mention the Bloody Sunday families. When I see other families having worked tirelessly for decades, getting the answers that they have fought for, that's given us a boost. That has inspired me, and that's made sure that in those dark days when you don't think you're going to be sitting here on a day like today, that you keep going, even when it's difficult. So that is how I would respond to that, and I think more importantly, people can make their own minds up as to how they think the Finucane family have been treated.
Anyone else here?
Actually, I do have a question on this one. David Cameron told you in 2011 that people in buildings around Whitehall didn't want the truth to come out. How confident are you that this inquiry actually gets to the truth? Do you believe it actually goes to the cabinet? Do you think anybody
Well, what the British government has said today is that they are going to establish a public inquiry. That has to be welcomed. It's hugely significant. It has never happened to us as a family before. We look forward to engaging with an inquiry that is credible, that has all of the powers that it is entitled to have, and we look to engage in that. We know what our campaign is about. We know the allegations that we made. We know what has already been accepted. We are not naive in that sense. But today is a rare day for us in over 35 and a half years that we can feel vindication, that we can point to something as a success. And it's not the end of our journey. We know, in one sense, the real battle begins. But today is a day that I think is a vindication of my mother's strength, my mother's leadership, to us as a family over 35 and a half years. And as I say, we look forward to sitting down and getting stuck in and engaged with the work that an inquiry will bring.
Right, folks, that seems to be it. So, thanks for your patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.